It's another edition of Musical Shenanigans. And here it is, the sixth show, sponsored in part by Fizz. We are talking about Destiny's Child, Beyonce, Black Sabbath, Bo Diddley, and the Beach Boys. Stick around to see who Scott straps to his rocket, featuring Dave, Cory Scott, and your moms. All right, this is Cory.
And this is Dave.
Praise Satan, crack cocaine!
And there's Scott.
Yes!
All right, we're back again. And we are no longer piling the albums upon ourselves. We went back to just 5. This week, we cover The Writings on the Wall by Destiny's Child, the album Beyonce by Beyonce, the album Paranoid by Black Sabbath, followed by Go Bo Diddley by Bo Diddley. And wrapping up the show today will be the Beach Boys with Pet Sounds. But let's begin with The Writings on the Wall, shall we? Destiny's Child, this is where Beyonce got her start.
Yeah.
And the roles were random. Let me make that very clear.
The Destiny's Child and Beyonce on the same week, that was complete coincidence. We did not plan that whatsoever.
I did enjoy this album.
Ugh.
I know I am not the demographic.
Yeah, tracks like Bills, Bugaboo. Those were my favorites. I really liked this album, actually. I thought it was great. This was what, their second album?
It was, yeah.
This is the one during the release of it, wasn't it with Beyonce and that other chick, and they booted the two members?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So it was Beyonce and 3 other women made up Destiny's Child originally, and they did their first album. They recorded this album. Actually, the entire album was with the original 4 lineup, but 2 of the women involved felt like Beyonce was getting all of the attention, partly because their manager was Beyonce's dad, who was also paying himself pretty generously. They tried to force a change in management of the act. The Say My Name video comes out. It premieres on MTV, and Beyonce shows up on MTV to introduce the premiere. And in her introduction, she announces that these 2 women had left, which was news to them. They found out along with everybody else. Anyway, they bring in 2 new singers, Michelle Williams and Farrah Franklin, who only lasted a few months. They then end up turning around and leaving.
No, Williams lasted longer than that.
I had down that they left after like 5 to 6 months each, but maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah.
I thought she lasted longer. But yeah, that's what I found interesting, was that there was all this internal explosion. I thought it was a really cool album. It wasn't bad at all. Honestly, to me, that it felt more like a cherry cheesecake, because it was heavy, it was creamy as fuck.
Listen, I'm not like a big top 40 person, or just anyway, top 40 pop music. I have a hard time with it. I try when we have these conversations to segregate my own personal musical taste from the quality of the album, and just like, okay, even if it's not my cup of tea, can I appreciate what they were trying to do? I tried to find something redeeming about it. I will say that I actually have a note here. One of the songs I wrote down, this is my favorite song. I'm trying to remember which one it was. There was one song I wrote down, this is my favorite track on the album, but I couldn't actually tell you at this point. I couldn't remember anything about the track. I can't tell you why it was my favorite or anything about it.
There's a certain element with this where there's a lot of repetitive sounds. You don't really get what I'm used to, like what we're used to. You hear a verse, you hear a chorus, you might have a bridge, you might have a solo, but in this, it's the same melody over and over again. And
super repetitive.
The change is in the vocals. The vocals were amazing in this.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly
the vocals.
See why Beyonce's become as big as she has is because she can sing.
Well, and I think that's actually got a lot to do with why this album is maybe on the list. Like, if I had to make a case for why this album belongs on the list, I think there's a fair argument that it's not really a Destiny's Child record. This is actually Beyonce's first record, because she's such a dominant force on the vocals, on the writing, on everything else, that this was like her sort of coming out party, so to speak, before going solo. But I don't know. I mean, when this album came out, there were a lot of these sort of like female R&B combo groups that were all trying to sort of make a name for themselves. You think about like TLC and En Vogue. I actually think En Vogue is easier to listen to than this, quite frankly.
I like TLC way more. That's just personal opinion, Give me Lisa Left Eye any day. Just saying.
I do like this female empowerment. They're the ones, they're going out, they're the ones on the prowl.
Yes.
Unlike the,
Oh, yeah.
the male rappers, the male rock stars.
Yeah, and I do think that sort of like independent women's streak was the one thing you could say about this that was a different take on what had come before.
Absolutely.
But as far as the music, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I'll go back and listen to Kanye, honestly.
That's a strong statement, man. Yeah. Damn. Kanye Kanye strikes me as like a fucking chocolate pudding, like a snack pack guy, you know?
That someone left in their lunchbox all day.
Exactly. That's been warmed up, you know, and it's just kind of
warm dairy.
Exactly. At least these girls are giving you some cheesecake. That's all I'm saying.
One observation of this that kind of sums up my feeling: the outro, the last track on the album, they do a version of Amazing Grace. Beautiful song. I did not think it was possible to make that song awful, but by God, here we are. I thought it was just terrible. A lot of vocal gymnastics.
It was overproduced. Someone just thought they could show off at the board.
Yep.
And yeah.
Let's just be honest. That song is fucking awful. We'll just say it. It's fucking awful. Okay, there's no offense in that. The song sucks. Okay, it's an awful hymn. It has no relevance in today's world. It's outmoded. It's outdated. And they need to drop doing this schlocky religious horse shit. No, that was garbage. You're right, Dave.
Well, I will say, as much as I did like it, I'm having a hard time with some of these albums to putting them in the top 500. My personal opinion is something that's in the top 500, like an album you need to listen to, is something that has inspired other people to either become musicians, become singers, or inspire literature or art. Now, I can see it as far as the female empowerment. Maybe that's where that inspiration is and that independence we talked about. But I always come back to, is it something that could have changed history? Is it, we've had the Beatles, we've had the Stones, we've had Led Zeppelin, we've had these acts that, we could build a tree from them. They are the roots, and you can see, tons of music and bands that have sprouted from what they did. Yeah. And with this, it's like,
Yeah. Is there something groundbreaking? Is there a longer term influence? I really feel like this one is only on there because it is effectively the first Beyonce solo album, which is, that's a good, Cory, you talk about these themes of strong independent women, which is great. But honestly, as we go in and talk about the Beyonce album, frankly, she does that same concept a lot better on that album.
I agree. Does it belong in the top 500?
No.
I don't think so.
I'm going to say no. And now a quick word from our sponsor.
Hi, everybody. Dave here from the Musical Shenanigans Podcast. If you're anything like me, you're not exactly a morning person. Like everyone else, I tried coffee, but all that really accomplished was making me jittery. And don't even get me started on most energy drinks. All those ingredients on an empty stomach can just give you a bad case of acid reflux. Well, I'm happy to say I found a solution, and it's our new sponsor, BuzzFizz. Now, I can hear you already, Dave. Isn't BuzzFizz just another energy drink? Well, yes, but no. With 180 milligrams of caffeine in every can and twice the vitamin B of most energy drinks, BuzzFizz will get you going and keep you going all day long. And unlike most energy drinks, BuzzFizz also contains satisfying protein, the same amount you'd get from eating 16 ounces of bacon, which helps keep your appetite at bay for hours. But don't worry, BuzzFizz is also 100% vegan and certified kosher. I just absolutely love it, and I think you're going to too. So go check it out and tell them Dave sent you.
BuzzFizz is not for everybody. If you are lactating or prone to excessive masturbating, BuzzFizz may not be right for you. Please consult your physician before returning BuzzFizz.
So we'll move on now to the album Beyonce by Beyonce. Good 14 years difference.
Wow.
And you could definitely see that there has been some experience and knowledge that has been gleaned over the years. Definitely, I think that song structures were a little better.
Yep.
But this one, I was saying earlier, it was like softcore porn at times.
It was. There's like two main themes on this album. Number one is strong, independent woman, making her own way, making her own creative decisions. That's theme number one. Theme number two, Beyonce likes fucking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that came out in quite a series of songs.
I need an interpretation here. Can you eat my Skittles? It's the sweetest in the middle. Yeah. Pink is the flavor. Solve the riddle. Yeah.
Dude, that's the best reason I felt that peach pie was Beyonce.
Could be.
It's peach. You can eat a peach for hours. that whole Nicolas Cage bullshit.
I think they do live in Atlanta too, right? Which is the peach state. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's an Atlanta thing. So there you go.
You know what? I got thrown off. I was thinking of like birthday cake ice cream that has all the candy in it. but you're right. We're sticking to pies. Never mind.
The whole sexuality thing, the whole eat my Skittles. We're sitting here having this conversation, but I will say this. This is sort of part and parcel about the whole feminist, independent women theme of this album, because you can go back 30, 40 years, right? And you've got Aerosmith singing about their big 10-inch, and everybody, and AC/DC singing about their big balls. And we all have a good chuckle and ha ha ha, isn't that cute? Here we are now with this album. You are 30 years later, and a woman is now basically doing the exact same thing, and we're making a big deal out of it. And it just actually does go to show you there is a historical double standard there.
There's a huge double standard. And it's, you can talk about Wet Ass Pussy, too, that song.
Yes, exactly.
Throw that out there, and a lot of guys are going to be like, whoa! Like, no, whatever, dude.
No, you're right. Dave, you make a perfect example of the other songs that we've had out there. Now, and I will give her credit. Eat My Skittles is at least suggestive. It's not just throwing it out there like, well, wet ass pussy.
Her choice of candies is a little okay. I don't know who wrote that lyric, but damn, they weren't trying very hard.
Yeah, on that one song, it was Pharrell Williams and Justin Timberlake were involved with the writing of that.
I hate Pharrell Williams.
Do we have to strap him to the rocket too?
He needs to go. It doesn't have anything to do with Beyonce's Peach Pie, because I'd eat that for hours. But that's beside the point. Her Skittles too, for that matter.
Now, the other interesting thing, there was one of the songs, I don't remember which one, I didn't write it down. She's talking about the lyrics or there was something in the lyrics where she wanted her man, but she understood that there was something going on there. And I looked it up, and this album came out pretty much right after Jay-Z had been cheating on her. Now, it didn't come out until 2017 that he admitted it, but it happened in 2012 prior to this album. And then, of course, we have the whole Lemonade thing, which I think was on her next album.
There's a couple of points, I think, that make reference to that. I jotted down in the song Mine, that whole song is sort of about, she had just had their kid and just very honest about doubts about whether the marriage was going to last, whether motherhood was really right for her, whether she'd made a mistake. Not necessarily overt, but some veiled references, Cory, to that exact sort of situation with Jay-Z that you're talking about.
But otherwise, I really got nothing else on this.
Not me either. It was very light and fluffy, and it didn't feel like it made any impact beyond like, okay, yeah, she's a good singer, but I mean, to me it didn't feel like it needed to be in that top 500. I'd have put Lemonade there.
I'd have two arguments for why I think that maybe it makes sense to have included it. Number one, back to the conversation we were having earlier about there needs to be something special about it. In this case, I think the something special is there's a lot of experimentation. She kind of gets away from R&B a lot of the time, and there's experimentation in there with like electronica and hip hop, and she's doing a lot of stuff there that frankly was new to her, at least. The other thing is that it doesn't come across from just listening to the album, but apparently when the album came out, it was a simultaneous release of an album and short films. There's like basically a short film that goes with every track on this album. The way that they did the writing, the two sort of developed in tandem. She would come up with a basic concept and lyrics for the song. They'd start shooting the video. The video would go off in a direction that maybe she didn't plan. That would feed back, and they'd go back and edit and rework the song, maybe add a verse, take out a bridge, whatever. And so there was this really interesting kind of like collaborative feedback where the visuals were impacting the songwriting. That is a pretty innovative thing to do just by itself.
All right, I'll stick her somewhere in like the 400 range.
I'd stick her somewhere.
No. I think you're just good with eating that peach pie.
I am. I really am.
All right, I think we have beaten that one well enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hi, this is Scott, your favorite member of Musical Shenanigans, and I'm here to talk to you today about Buzz Fizz. Yeah, it's one of our sponsors, and yeah, I was like, oh, it's another energy drink, what the hell ever. So anyway, praise Satan, this stuff, when you open the can, oh my fucking god, it just jumps out and leaps right down your face. It might be caffeine, it might be cocaine, it might be crack, I'm not really sure, but 2 swigs of this shit and I was running down the street. I watched all of Netflix. I read the entire internet. It was amazing. Yeah, try Buzz Fizz. It's great.
May cause unexplained bruising, jaundice, hypertension, color blindness, macular degeneration, vomiting, hallucination, blisters around the mouth, urinary incontinence, reduced sperm count, chlamydia, or testicular elephantitis.
Love that Buzz Fizz. Now it's time for Black Sabbath.
fucking Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
This album was not as the 12-year-old me remembered it.
No.
I mean, certainly War Pigs and Iron Man and Paranoid, but holy shit, the noodling on this album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Electric Funeral was like, seriously, guys, you need to fucking stop. Somebody's too high right now.
One of my observations as I was listening to this album is there's a lot of great musicianship, a lot of great, iconic guitar riffs.
Yeah.
Some of the stupidest fucking lyrics ever written, though.
Oh God, yes.
And then to find out it was like a war protest album too.
The album was originally called War Pigs.
Yep.
And the record company made them change it. And then come to find out that Paranoid was written because they didn't have enough for the album. So it was written in like 25 minutes. And that's the jam right there. Yeah, go figure.
The other guys in the band would talk about how Naomi was just, he could come up with these great riffs. And he does. I mean, you think about a lot of his things and they're just these great little riffs. But some of them like go on way too long.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like there was a little bit of the psychedelia in there too. It's like
Planet Caravan?
Yes.
Planet Caravan? Oh, that's one of the worst tracks, I think. That and Rat Salad.
I actually liked it, but it's not what you think of when you think of Sabbath.
No, it isn't. But, I also really enjoyed the album Never Say Die, which has a bunch more noodling on it, and Masters of Reality, which were more noodling again, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, a load of noodling. Volume 4, tons of noodling, so, come on.
But this noodling, I don't know. This one feels more of like they had Jerry Garcia noodling with them.
Kind of. I mean, honestly, listening to it's like okay, I dig War Pigs. The song's great, but fuck, it takes forever to get this point across.
Yeah.
And bang, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, bam, bam. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, bam, bam. You're like, fuck. That is just the slowest song ever. Oh my God. And like, oh, it's so heavy. No, it's so fucking slow. There's a difference in decades in how music is perceived, I think.
And you get the terrible lyric writing in the first two lines of that song. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at Black Masses. You rhymed masses with masses. That's just fucking lazy.
Geezer. That's Geezer for you.
Geezer, those are some great fucking lyrics, man. Those are fucking fantastic. What are you talking about? Sharon was my daughter.
No, you gotta understand. I said masses, and then I said mosses.
I said mosses. I said mosses and masses. Yeah, it's different, right? You fucking idiot. What are you, a savant or something? Right.
You mentioned that the album was originally going to be called War Pigs, but the record company refused to go with it. I actually jotted down this actual quote from Ozzy. That album title had nothing to do with deceive. What the fuck is a bloke dressed as a pig with a sword in his hand got to do with being paranoid? I don't fucking know, but the fucking record company made us do it.
I swear, Ozzy he's a saint. He's just a living saint, because
I'm the fucking Prince of Darkness.
The shit that comes out of his mouth is just priceless.
But then he starts singing. And this is what to this day I don't get. How can he talk like that every time you see him in an interview or on the reality show or whatever? And then he starts singing, and suddenly there's just crystal clarity coming out of his voice.
Yeah, it's almost like he's a stutterer. For me, Sabbath for that album was a fudge cake. That was just fudge cake, baby. Just a big old fucking 4-decker, chocolate and fucking fudge frosting, just throwing on the calories, straight up chocolate in your face.
Yeah, but I would think there's probably some like heavy like cream cheese in the middle, because a lot of it is hard to digest. Like a cream cheese chocolate, like it's just too much to eat at once. It's like getting a slice of cake from like the Cheesecake Factory, where it's like, I ordered a slice, not a whole cake. Now I did like, because all these years I never really knew the story behind Iron Man, so in my research I did learn that, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. The guy that comes back from the future and he's telling him the whole place has gone to shit, but no one will listen to him. So he burns the whole place down and sends the world to shit himself. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I thought that was obvious in the music originally. Everybody's like, oh, it's about Iron Man. I'm like, why aren't you listening to the song?
Well, that was Geezer. It was one interview I was reading about where he would constantly get frustrated at people misinterpreting what it was they were trying to do. Like, everybody focuses on the name and the imagery and the album covers, but a lot of the songs are science fiction, political statements. Hand of Doom, that whole thing was about soldiers coming home from Vietnam addicted to heroin. At the time they were playing shows on military bases, they were seeing this firsthand. He was frustrated that nobody was reporting about it or doing anything about it, and so they wrote the song. So they have these songs that are like anti-drug, science fiction. Paranoid is actually about his struggles with clinical depression, although he said in an interview he didn't know how to describe, but at the time he didn't know what clinical depression was, and he was kind of mixing it up with paranoia. No, but a lot of their songs had nothing to do with the whole satanic image that most people have in their minds.
No, that's the thing. Sabbath got a bad rap just because of the name, which they got from an old Vincent Price movie.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What was the original name of Sabbath before it was Earth? It was Earth, Sabbath Earth. It was like the Polka Blues Band or something like that. It was
the Polka Tulk Blues Band.
The Polka Tulk Blues Band. Yes. Wow. You know, if they'd have kept that name, yeah.
Can't imagine why they didn't sell tickets.
You know what? Metal music would be something completely different today. If
it really would be. Did you see the Polka Tulk Blues Band? Oh,
man, those guys rock, man.
It's fucking heavy.
Sounds like the name of a Weird Al album.
It really does.
It does.
I'm going to go on a limb. I think Sabbath belongs in the top 500. Yes, this one is kind of like a godfather to a lot of other metal out there. And they all go back and they all point to this album, or they at least point to Sabbath.
This album was very important to a lot of people, so yeah, I think it definitely belongs there.
I agree.
Right? Well, they're all from Birmingham. They were all Peaky fucking Blinders, you know.
Wait, they're from Alabama?
Sweet home, Alabama. Where the skies are so blue.
Okay.
Yes.
No more Sabbath. Hi, this is Cory, your favorite musical shenanigans host, here to talk about our new sponsor, BuzzFizz. What you may not know is that BuzzFizz is also an incredible detox supplement. Not only does it provide the needed boost anytime, day or night, and suppress a hearty appetite with its abundance of proteins naturally harvested from grass-fed bulls, but it can flush a toxic system. After a guy's weekend of wings, beer, pizza, and anything else that was consumed at the food court, a BuzzFizz dose will detoxify all those nasty toxins, cleansing you beyond the average preparation of a colonoscopy. So be sure to have some good reading material available. BuzzFizz, not just your everyday energy protein drink.
BuzzFizz energy drinks are for oral consumption only and not intended for use as a personal lubricant, stool softener, or for personal hygiene. Do not store BuzzFizz energy drinks near an open flame, in a poorly ventilated area, or within 6 feet of birds. BuzzFizz may contain trace amounts of nuts, shellfish, or thalidomide, and some users of BuzzFizz have occasionally reported rapid weight gain and extreme flatulence.
Love that BuzzFizz. Okay, kind of what I'd like to call my surprise of the week, and not necessarily a good one. Bo Diddley? Bo Diddley? I put this album on, and my first thought was, what the fuck is this? This is not what I expected.
Yeah.
I had to wait till like the 6th or 7th track before I heard anything remotely blues. I heard a harmonica, and believe me, after our last take where we had all harmonica,
dude,
I was like, whoa, harmonica. Holy hell. I was like, where's Who Do You Love? I mean, this is the only Bo Diddley album in the list, and it doesn't have Who Do You Love on it. I heard this, I'm like, this is not what I associate with Bo Diddley. This is, I obviously don't know Diddley.
I hear you, yeah. For me, it felt like it was just a stale chocolate chip cookie. It had been left in the box and just forgotten and like maybe nibbled by a roach.
Something you found in like in the pantry. It fell behind the can of
it was
behind the
just,
can of big
like,
can of
oh,
coffee.
Look, we forgot this cookie. Yeah, exactly. It was like, damn, what the hell happened here? At the same time, it wasn't one of the earliest set of his recordings, though.
I think so, and I actually think that part of the reason this may be on here is because it's not blues. He's doing a lot of things, like there's a lot of things going on here that we talked about innovation earlier that people had not done before. He's got a lot of African rhythms going on in here. He's got like a lot of sort of syncopated, deliberately off time playing. At some points, like he's just making noise that sounds interesting to him, and it's not necessarily a harmony or in time with the actual music.
Some of the other ones just sounded very cookie cutter of the 50s and 60s.
God damn, this isn't Bo Diddley. I mean, I grew up on like the 70s Bo Diddley, where it was all like bam, bam, wow, wow, a little bit of wow, 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 and that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool shit, but this wasn't very cool.
As I was listening to it, one of the thought that crossed my mind is a lot of these songs, we talked like way back when we did the first show, we talked about Liz Phair and Exile in Guyville. And there were a lot of tracks on this album where he just sort of comes up with a concept like a standard riff, a very basic chord progression, and it doesn't go anywhere. Like he just rides that all the way to the end of the song, right? And his voice is providing harmony, but the actual underlying song isn't actually going anywhere. There's no chord changes, there's no progression through the song at all. It's just the same backbeat from start to finish.
It's an early club mix.
Yeah.
An early Beyonce song.
And actually that bump, 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 bump. They've actually given that beat, they call that the Bo Diddley. And if you listen closely, for those of you drummers out there, if you hear the song Rosanna by Toto, now the Jeff Porcaro drum line, that's what the kick drum is playing.
Actually, one track in particular I want to point out, it's the very last track on the album. It's called The Clock Strikes 12, and it's an instrumental. And it is totally different than anything else on the album. It's basically, you've got a piano playing sort of a steady, slow blues and a violin solo over it. It goes for like 2 full minutes without a single note on the guitar. Then the guitar comes in for about 30 seconds, and then back to the violin for like another 2 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is so bizarre. Like, why is he closing number one with an instrumental that barely features him? And then later, I found out after the fact, all that violin, that's him. In addition to playing guitar really well, he's actually also a really talented violin player. So that was actually him soloing the whole time.
I would say Bo Diddley, yes, in the top 500, but this album is not, I think, representative of really anything.
What number did this rank, remind me?
Yeah, it's 455.
They were searching for shit by that point. Yeah, I get you. But they could have come up with a better Bo Diddley album.
The problem here is obviously, as I said before, like me, they didn't know Diddley.
They didn't, no. They weren't even thinking in the terms of baked goods.
Real name, Elias McDaniel.
Nice. Wow, Dave does his research.
Yes.
Makes us all look like schmucks.
Yeah, I don't have to edit him out, though.
Hello again, everyone. Dave here. If you're anything like me, you love the taste and energy you get from a daily dose of Buzz Fizz energy drinks. But I know there are some of you out there who are a little more discriminating. You don't want the same cheap, mass-produced, artificially flavored swill of the riffraff. You want something a little more refined, sophisticated, and just a little bit exclusive. And that's why our friends at Buzz Fizz are proud to announce new Buzz Fizz Select Artisanal Reserve. Each batch of Buzz Fizz Select Artisanal Reserve is lovingly handcrafted by Buzz Fizz's team of expert brewmasters and tested rigorously by a staff of classically trained energy sommeliers. Buzz Fizz's packaging team relies on a custom-made set of half-ounce eyedroppers to carefully transfer each 12-ounce serving into a pristine, hand-painted bottle made of delicate blown glass from Murano, Italy. It takes a village to bring you the energy you need. So try Buzz Fizz Select Artisanal Reserve, now available in berry, apple, avocado toast, or for the truly discerning, beluga caviar flavor. Go check it out and tell them Dave sent you.
BuzzFizz is FDA reviewed and available everywhere beer and cigarettes are sold.
All right, and here we are, ranked at number 2, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Scott, since you did so much, I can't think of the word, since you did so much research on this, you can go.
I listened to this album twice, and what I did was I put it on, all right? And I listened to like about 10 seconds of each track, just to get a good feel for, because if something doesn't really grab you in the first 5 or 6 seconds, it ain't gonna fucking grab you. Okay, this is like a barbershop quartet, like Johnny Weissmuller in a dark alley, going, what is this? Why is this happening? That's honestly how I felt the whole way through. So I was like, no, it can't be just me. And sure as shit, I look it up on the fucking Google, and there are a lot of fucking haters of this album. People People hate this album. This, for instance, I wrote the shit down. Okay, this abomination is usually pretty highly placed on just about every album list I've ever seen. Nowadays, Pet Sounds has all the cultural relevance of a dog food commercial. It's an elaborate symphony of merry, jingling pap filled with goofy noises and men with extremely high voices. Hearing Brian Wilson and his band of brothers hit the notes and don't talk is truly an emasculating experience. Seriously, it makes my nuts suck up into my body a little bit, like imagining Ernest Borgnine naked.
We just lost Ernest Borgnine as a listener.
And my favorite bit, though, from the web is, even if Pet Sounds has the most elaborate production on earth, that still makes it just rock and roll's most highly polished turd. And yeah, I'd have to agree, because to me it was like, it's like if you bought a lemon bar, right? And you go walking down the street and you got your lemon bar and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna eat this lemon bar. And you bite into it and you're like, what? And it tastes like a 1972 Chevy Impala. You just kind of fucking lose it. You're like, what did I just taste? Because that wasn't what I wanted.
Like cherry, or go for, or like dog shit, but not a car.
Right now, there's at least one person listening to this saying, did they edit something out? Like, did he go from lemon bar to Chevy Impala?
Not an inanimate object that nobody knows. Well, what does Chevy Impala taste like? No.
The instrumentation, rather, is clever. It's tasteful, but it's hardly fucking innovative. Pet Sounds is more like pet vomit, and frankly, it was the stale angel food cake of the bunch.
Thank you, good night. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving than Scott was, but I don't necessarily disagree with anything he just said.
I expected us to argue about
Again,
that.
This kind of comes back to the Destiny's Child conversation, where I can divorce my personal taste from the technical achievement of the record, right? So at the time, Brian Wilson is trying to do this sort of Phil Spector-like wall of sound effect, where it's just 500 instruments and different sounds going at the same time, and they all sort of blend and dissolve into one and form one sort of cohesive, to the point where you really can't pick out any one single instrument anymore. Taking an album like this that came out in the mid-60s and judging it by what's possible in the studio today, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that that wasn't so fucking easy to do 60 years ago. And especially for somebody to put that together at a time when he was only 23 years old, yeah, that's pretty goddamn impressive. I think it's an incredible technical achievement. I think at the end of the day, though, it still sounds like the Beach Boys. And I think that's the technical achievement is there, but he didn't really move the sound of the band overall forward with the album, if that makes sense.
He did what Lindsey Buckingham eventually did with Tusk. Brian went into the studio to say, I am not making another Beach Boys album, except he did. Lindsey, on the other hand, went in and said, I'm not making another Rumors, and he didn't. Now, a lot of what Brian did in the studio, somebody was saying that, Be My Baby,
yep,
the Ronettes, that Phil Spector did produce. I said that was like his favorite song. He played that over and over again. He loved that wall of sound. And what he was doing in the studio was incredibly innovative at that time. Nobody was doing that. Keep it in perspective, the time of what was available. Now, the band, interestingly enough, are not the Beach Boys playing on this. It's the Wrecking Crew. And I think that's why, even musically, it's solid, because we're dealing with studio professionals that are on hundreds of top hits from that time.
That's what I'm saying. Lyrically, it's just stale angel food cake. All the Beach Boys ever sang about was surfing, girls, and
that is one thing that is one thing that changed here,
cars.
Actually. There's not a single song on this album about surfing. There's not a single song on this album about the beach. This is lyrically, that is another innovation that Brian, whether you like the result or not, different story. All the lyrics on this album, much more introspective. He's actually singing about his personal life. He's singing about his personal relationships. This is not a surfing record. And in fact, I think he recorded a lot of the demo. He and another guy named Tony Asher came up with a lot of the songs and the lyrics and everything, and basically demoed everything while the Beach Boys were out on tour. That was the other thing. He wanted to focus on songwriting, so he actually stopped touring with the Beach Boys. He's like, you guys go out, I'm going to stay home and work on the next album.
Yeah, Tony Asher was the guy that wrote jingles
for TV commercials. Yeah,
right. And he came in and did a lot of the lyrics with Brian and worked with him every day at his house.
And Brian Wilson chose him specifically because the mindset was, I want to do something totally different than what we've done in the past. And oh, by the way, do a lot of LSD. That helped too.
That always helps, yeah. I mean, it's very creative.
Right. I can appreciate the technical achievement, but I probably would never sit down and listen to it again. And by the way, like that wasn't even unique for when it came out. When it came out, actually, it didn't sell that great.
No, it bombed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And right after it came out,
wow,
because Capitol, because they just thought it was just so weak and not selling, they immediately put together a Beach Boys greatest hits right after that.
Well, sometimes you write a turd and it's just a turd, and no matter how pretty of a turd is, I mean, it might be the most magnificent turd ever to you, but to everyone else it still looks and smells just like a fucking turd, and they're like, oh my god, it's a fucking turd, and you're like, no, but this turd is beautiful, it's the perfect turd, look at this turd, look at it, it's a turd.
There's also a school of thought that says, like, would you take this album and Rubber Soul from the Beatles and then Sgt. Pepper's, which they did after this album, partly in response to this album, that if you take those three albums together, that's sort of the genesis of progressive rock too, where for the first time in the mid-60s, rock music goes from something you go out and dance to and have fun, but it's not really a serious art form, to something where you actually put on a turntable and sit down and listen to it and appreciate it as music the same way you would classical or jazz or another genre.
Okay, I did have one comment I had to share. Wouldn't it be nice? It's just the Pussy Whip song. That's what it should say in parentheses. I mean, this is the guy. This is so antithesis of just the rock star. Wouldn't it be nice? Instead of, wouldn't it be nice if you came back to my place and, took care of me? No, wouldn't it be nice if we get married? Of course, this is how I hear it, which is a sad thing. It's like, we could get married, and it says, and we could be happy, but I heard if we could get married and never be happy. And I played it 3 times ago. No, that's not the right lyric. That's what I heard.
Got caught fucking at SeaWorld.
I do interpret things. Yeah.
Well, that's very telling. We base our lives on how we see reality.
I still think on a technical, innovative side, it could be in the top 500, but not number 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
Get the fuck out of Dodge now. Beach Boys need to go be set on fire, strapped to the rocket, have cinder blocks shoved up their asses sideways, and then be shot into the fucking sun.
Yeah, but you're going to make it very difficult for that rocket to get off the ground if you're adding the cinder blocks.
I don't care if it gets off the ground. That's my point. It can explode on the landing pad. It doesn't matter as long as it kills everybody aboard.
They're not really aboard. They're strapped to it.
Use duct tape. Be cheap. I mean, really, how much duct tape do you need to strap Beyonce and, Kanye and fucking Jewel to a rocket?
It's not the duct tape that'll kill you. It's the cinder block budget.
Those things aren't cheap. That's true. And I don't know how much Brian Wilson goes for these days.
I was taken in 1984 to see the Beach Boys.
Lucky
My
you.
biggest memory, what I remember the most about that show, was the opening act, Mick Fleetwood Zoo.
Nice.
Because that towering, lumbering Mick Fleetwood behind the kit, that's what I remember the most. Okay, I think we have beaten this enough. I think we can stop here. All right, thank you all. We'll be back next time.
My sexy penis teaser, yeah!
Hi.
With whatever the fuck that was. Hey, this is Cory, your favorite musical shenanigans host, and I am thoroughly enjoying Buzz Fizz. The more I drink, the more focused I think I become. In fact, this new blue flavor is my favorite, and I cannot get enough. Oh man, I feel like I'm running through the woods with no pants. Yeah!
Dad, how many of those have you had?
Banana! I'm off!
That's not an answer. Dad, where are you going?
Banana!
Dad?
In rare cases, prolonged Buzz Fizz consumption has been associated with gambling addiction, excessive body hair, cankles, and a strong but inexplicable obsession with Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. Please do not operate heavy machinery or execute any legal documents within 6 hours of consuming Buzz Fizz, or consume Buzz Fizz if you are currently pregnant, nursing, or Swedish. In the event Buzz Fizz comes into contact with skin, run under cold water and call 911. And energy lasting more than 4 hours indicates a serious medical problem. Please seek emergency assistance immediately.
Banana!